Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, more than a month after the toxic Ohio train derailment, the CEO of Norfolk Southern faces lawmakers. We've got details. Plus, since the war in Ukraine, many Jewish people have immigrated to Israel, seeking refuge.
I think in this last year, everyone understood how much this is true, how much the state of Israel, even today, is a refuge. Not just a refuge, an emergency refuge for Jews.
We'll take you on their journey as this process continues now for more than a year. Plus, free 3-hit theaters with record-breaking numbers last weekend. We had the chance to sit down with some of the cast for the film's premiere, including actor and first-time director Michael B. Jordan.
I think, as a director, you have to obsess over it. So it's emotions going to be involved. Every day's a fight. I'm fighting for ideas. I'm fighting for time. I'm fighting for sets, locations, wardrobe. I'm fighting for everything.
All these stories and more are coming up next from the CBN Newsroom.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
We begin this half hour in Washington, where senators are getting their chance to grill the head of Norfolk Southern Railway Company. This comes more than a month after a toxic train derailment in Ohio. Jenna Browder has more now on our top story.
An apology and promises of action were met with renewed demand for accountability following the toxic train derailment in Ohio. More than a month after the accident, senators got their chance to grill the head of the Norfolk Southern Train Company. A day of reckoning.
I want you to tell me why everybody in my community is getting sick.
And atonement.
I want to begin today by expressing how deeply sorry I am.
The chief of the company responsible for the derailment in the hot seat in the Senate.
Corporate greed, outdated railway safety regulations, lax hazardous material standards were all the fuel on a toxic fire that was ready to combust.
Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw promising yet again to thoroughly clean the crash site and surrounding areas.
I am determined to make this right. Norfolk Southern will clean the site safely, thoroughly, and with urgency. You have my personal commitment.
Which means Norfolk Southern putting up millions for affected regions and touting a 6-point plan to improve rail safety, including enhanced real-time warnings to crews.
While this is Norfolk Southern's train, their wreck, and their mess, the entire apparatus of state government has been mobilized to assist.
With the toxic cleanup still underway, EPA representatives are vouching for the safety of the region's water and air.
EPA monitors have not detected any volatile organic compounds above levels of health concerns.
Now facing new questions over the intentional burning of certain hazardous chemicals carried by the train, including vinyl chloride, associated with increased cancer risks.
It's their responsibility, and they weren't even considered before this decision to vent and burn it in the middle of a town.
We were at risk of a catastrophic rupture that would have resulted in uncontrolled release of hazardous material.
Then how do we know that the car wasn't working properly to begin with? Someone may need to be held responsible that made the decision to burn this off.
As to the potential continuing environmental and health threat, a point-blank question.
Would you live there, given what you've seen?
Yes, sir.
And President Biden, after initially declining to visit the site of the toxic train crash, now says he intends to visit at some point. The Norfolk Southern chief and EPA representatives told Senator Graham they would join the president if asked to do so. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Turning now overseas, 8 people are dead after a shooting at a Kingdom Hall in Germany, and there is no word on a motive for the attack. Police believe there was one shooter who were among the dead. An unknown number of others were also wounded, some of them seriously. Police officers apparently reached the Kingdom Hall while the attack was still ongoing. A police spokesperson said they did not use their own firearms. One eyewitness said he heard at least 25 shots. Germany's gun laws are more restrictive than here in the United States, but more permissive than some of their European neighbors, and shootings are not unheard of. Back here at home, nearly $7 trillion is the cost of President Biden's new budget proposal. The White House maintains it will cut nearly $3 trillion from the deficit over the next decade, but opponents have quickly criticized its major tax increases and new social spending programs for the middle and lower class. And it is expected to go nowhere in a divided Congress. CBN's Caitlin Burke is on this story.
When it comes to spending, Congress holds the purse strings. While the Senate may be able to push the plan through, the Republican-controlled House has already deemed the budget dead on arrival.
I ran to grow the economy from the middle out and the bottom up and not the top down.
Biden's budget proposals fall into four main categories: deficit reduction, bringing down costs for families, protecting and strengthening Medicare and Social Security, and investing in America. Many of the president's plans also involve raising taxes, which Republicans call unnecessary.
If you look at the revenue that's coming into America today, it's higher than at any 50-year average. We've only topped this 2 other times that we've met at the same time. But our expenses are much higher. And if you look since he's been in office, the added $6 trillion. If you look at the 30% increase in discretionary spending just in the last 4 years, that has been a real challenge. And I think that's where the real problem lies.
Democrats, meanwhile, accuse the GOP of targeting programs that average Americans rely on, like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, to try to achieve a balanced budget.
Their fantastical plan, I call it fantastical, to balance the budget in 10 years would decimate the middle class, decimate the wallets of every American family, and undo the progress we've made over the last 2 years.
McCarthy maintains cuts to those programs are off the table. As Congress argues over how to bring down the national debt, both sides agree something must be done. U.S. debt currently sits at $32 trillion, expected to reach $50 trillion by 2030.
In the next 10 years, Americans will pay $10.5 trillion just on the interest on our debt. Now, to put that in perspective, since 1940 till today, America has only paid $9 trillion in interest. So in the next 10 years, we'll pay more than we paid in the last 80 years.
I'm ready to meet with the Speaker anytime, tomorrow, if he has his budget. Lay it down, tell me what you want to do, I'll show you what I want to do, see what we can agree on, what we don't agree on, let's see what we vote on.
Even before this budget proposal, lawmakers have looked ahead to another money issue, the debt ceiling. With the government set to run out of money by mid-August, the country could default if Congress doesn't raise it, something Republicans say they're unwilling to do until they see some concessions on spending. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Cutting back on unhealthy eating can not only increase your lifespan, it can also enhance your spiritual life. Just one of the reasons why millions of Christians are observing the season of Lent. The 40-day period leading up to Easter is a time of turning attention from the pleasures of this world and focusing on spiritual growth. CBN's Billy Hallowell explores creative ways to fast, pray, and seek the Lord during this important season.
For millions of faithful, Lent is a time for prayer, repentance, and fasting. The observance, which extends from Ash Wednesday through Holy Week, has traditionally been a Catholic practice, although 20% of American Protestants also participate in an effort to get closer to God.
Christians traditionally try to focus on Christ's death and resurrection and ways that we can kind of prepare our hearts for the coming Easter season. And many Christians celebrate in all sorts of different ways.
Pastor Shane Eidelman explains the spiritual benefit of intentional fasting.
And as you're praying and fasting more, you're really drawn in to just experiencing God in a more profound and powerful way. One thing about fasting is it doesn't bend God's arm, but it bends my knees in a time of prayer and seeking Him.
We often hear of folks giving up chocolate, candy, or other food to place a deeper focus on Christ. Brittany counters that there are other ways to take part, even if you get a late start.
While I do love the structure of Lent, everybody going through it together, it is never too late to start a spiritual discipline. Whether that is giving something up or adding something in, if you are thinking right now, I should have given this thing up, or I should have started this new practice. I've been meaning to read my Bible more. I've been meaning to spend more time in prayer. There's no time like the present. You can start today.
While Lent is typically focused on abstaining from something, Brittany sometimes seeks to add to her routine, such as opting for more intentional quiet time or small acts of sacrifice for others.
even unique ideas like taking a farther away parking space. Maybe you're just going to give that little sacrifice so that somebody else can have a special space. Maybe you're going to pay for the person in front of you. There's all kinds of things you can do.
Pastor Eidelman believes fasting, regardless of the time of the year, is a biblical practice that can offer a spiritual recharge and a deeper relationship with the Almighty.
It's powerful when your heart's right. You know, you walk into just this season where you've repented. Your self-discipline, I don't think it should be a period of 6 weeks of self-discipline and then give up and go back to our old habits. You know, this is a time to really instill some good habits into our life.
Though we're already in the middle of Lent, it's never too late to dive in. After all, the biblical benefits of fasting can clearly be gleaned at any time of the year. Consider praying, seeking the Lord, and following His cues on how to proceed. This is Billy Hollowell for CBN News.
Coming up, Jewish people continue to flee the ongoing war in Ukraine and seek refuge in Israel. We'll take you on their journey coming up next. When Russia's war on Ukraine began, many Jewish people fled and immigrated to Israel. Although initial numbers have dropped over the past year, Jews continue to make their way home. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl recently joined an airplane load on their way to Israel.
Since its founding, Israel has been a refuge for the Jewish people.
I think in this last year, everyone understood how much this is true. How much the state of Israel, even today, is a refuge. Not just a refuge, an emergency refuge for Jews.
Mark Dovev heads the Israeli government office responsible for helping Jews immigrating from Ukraine and Moldova.
At the beginning of the war, the people really were refugees. They lost their houses, their husbands, their wives, their children, and there was a sense of displacement and loss. They escaped from there.
During the first 10 months of the war, close to 40,000 Russians and 15,000 Ukrainians came to Israel.
In the beginning, there was people that just ran out from the fire. They saw the tanks, they felt the fires. They didn't know what is going to happen. There was a feeling that everything is going to fall down and Ukraine will be Russia in 5 days, and they just ran away.
Benny Haddad is with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews that helped about 5,000 Ukrainian refugees make the trip from Moldova.
They have one packet with their documents, taking kids in their hands, no clothes, nothing at all, and we need to give them everything. This was the beginning.
And a year later, they're still coming.
They are not running away. They are planning something. They're coming here with suitcase, one or two. They cannot sell the homes or the cars. They have no money, but they have their things with them, and they have some plan where are we going to be in the beginning. They have some information.
Still, it wasn't an easy decision.
I have two countries, one country of my parents, of my family, and one of my soul. It's Israel and Ukraine.
Katerina initially stayed to finish her degree in chemistry. Now she and her two cats are joining her parents and brother in Beersheba, Israel.
On New Year's Eve, it was rocket missiles by Russians. Near my house, it was 100 meters. And my university, my alma mater, was bombed. It is no windows now, and it is no place to study to our students.
Elena Shevchenko is leaving the chaos of war to be with her children and grandchildren.
This whole year, I haven't been able to come to my senses. When you stand in your own home and all the walls and windows are shaking, and you don't understand what for, why this is happening, when our children, our neighbors in the village are dying, and you don't understand the reason for it, why is it so?
For 76-year-old Lev Vikniansky, it will be like a family reunion because his wife, son, and daughter and their families are in Israel.
Oh, good. It's been a year since I saw them, but before the war, I visited Israel 17 or 18 times. It's my second country. I couldn't leave what we had accumulated over the years. I needed to pass it on to somebody. We had a business, we had a home, we had cars. We had everything to live comfortably and visit Israel 5 times a year.
90 new immigrants and 7 pets from Ukraine and Russia arrived here on this flight from Chisinau, Moldova, chartered by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Some couldn't come earlier because they had sick loved ones in Ukraine.
My father died earlier, and then my grandpa was sick and bedridden. We wanted to go to Israel, but the doctors told us that he wouldn't survive the journey to get the medical treatment there. My mother left, and now we're going.
Waiting at the airport in Chisinau, some had mixed emotions.
Well, I'm happy because I'll see my family, my loved ones. My mother, my sisters, my sons, and granddaughters are already there. But at the same time, it's very sad for me because my wife stayed in Ukraine. Her mother is old. She is not able to leave for now. And on the other hand, my mother has been in Israel for 30 years already. She's almost 101.
Some came from Russia.
We are very happy to visit the historical homeland of my husband, to show our son the land of his forefathers.
And then, on a blustery day, they were home.
I made my decision about it just 10 days ago, and I'm here to support my son, year student of NALE program, and I'm happy to stay here, and I hope that in the future I'll be able to repay Israel for support, for kindness.
Tears of joy that I came to my children, to see them, and that everything will go well here. I'm very happy that I made it here, to my homeland.
I always feel good, especially when I come to my land, the land of my forefathers. That's why I can't feel bad.
It may not be easy for these newcomers, but they have the assurance that they have come home, as the prophet Amos said, never to be uprooted again. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Chisinau, Moldova, and Ben Gurion Airport, Tel Aviv.
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Creed hit the box office to rave reviews and literally pulling in the most for a sports film ever in the United States opening weekend for the story, for the stars, and for the first-time director, Michael B. Jordan. I traveled to Los Angeles for the premiere and the chance to sit down with Jordan, Jonathan Majors, and Tessa Thompson.
I spent the last 7 years of my life living out my wildest dreams. Bianca, Rocky, my dad. This was built on their shoulders.
How much of Michael B. Jordan's story is in this chapter of Adonis Creed's story?
I mean, this is the essence of a bit of it. Adonis is a father, a husband, a better man. But I think it's the only character I played 3 times over the last 9 years of my life. So, you know, I kind of had an idea of the similarities and, you know, maybe some of the things that, you know, a young black man like that would be going through, you know, with the success and just all the obstacles and things that the weight that he might be holding on those shoulders. So I leaned into some of those things. Hey, my man, can I help you? Let me get an autograph. No, I ain't signing an autograph, but you get off my car. You don't remember me, huh?
Damien. What's Damien's internal fight? What's his struggle?
Oh, it's this idea of freedom. How long were you locked up?
18 years, bro. Just got out last week.
Glad to have you back out, huh?
I know I've been away a long time, but I kept myself in shape. I still got gas in the tank.
Come by the gym.
Thank you.
How is it that he has his drive, he has his ambition, he has his body, he has his ability, and yet he's not the champ? He's not seen as worthy. That's humiliating. He's fighting against that.
I didn't tell you. We was like brothers. I was the best, though. But I never got a chance to prove that.
That's cute.
I imagine, as we know, this was a physical workout. How emotional of a workout was it for you?
I think, you know, as a director, you have to obsess over it. So its emotions are going to be involved. Every day's a fight. I'm fighting for ideas. I'm fighting for time. I'm fighting for sets, locations, wardrobe. I'm fighting for everything.
Something is going on with you.
Damien was like family.
Now we past talking.
Then maybe you just have to find him.
What was the shift like? I know you act alongside Michael B. Jordan all these years, but now you act and you get directed by him. What was that like?
It was such a joy. I mean, the truth is our process has always been so collaborative. In a way, we have always been directing each other, oddly, over the course of making these films, because we check in with each other so much. We're always in conversation, like, how did that feel? How's this feeling? And we're always like kind of co-authoring the characters too. So in a weird way, the shift didn't feel that stark.
The higher you get, the harder it gets. That's life.
Because this is a war. It's a fight, it's a battle.
How much is it the responsibility of someone who succeeds to then open the door for someone who's coming after?
I mean, it's more complex than that. I think that was some of the conversations that we wanted to have.
There may have been a time when Damien had your back.
No friends in the industry. But that's not what he's doing now.
There is no black and white. There's no right or wrong. There's just like perspective and a lot of gray area, which life is. And I wanted to have that conversation with these two characters.
Damien's fighting the world, and he's trying to hurt people.
I vouch for you. You think you mad? Try spending half your life in a cell. Watching somebody else live your life. I'm coming for everything. You threatening me?
You see a tension there between the two characters. How much is it incumbent upon those who are successful to help bring those, like a Damien who's left behind, up?
You can be a gatekeeper or you can be a bridge builder. If I'm already there and you're way over there, I can bring you here. You know what I mean? Teach a man to fish. You know what I mean? I can bring you here. You know, I can't do it for you. But I think what you must do in success, to those you feel or will do no harm, they should be brought in closer. You know what I mean? Because so many times, if you don't see it, you can't be it.
I need you to let go of your fear. Let go of the guilt. Let go of whatever was and walk into what is.
Creed 3 is in theaters right now. Stay with us. Your Faithful Friday is coming up next. Time now for your Friday Faithful, and today I want to leave you with this thought. Now is the time to fix your focus, push past distractions, dig deep, and press in. There are no excuses for simply not trying. The fight, the journey, the process all begin with one step. Take it, do it, and seek God at every turn. With that word, make this a Friday filled with faith and a Friday filled with action. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We want to remind you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News channel at any time, as well as online at cbnnews.com. We would love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you back here Monday.